Welcome everybody to my first ever podcast. I'm gonna be your host, Ari the Aries, and I'm very excited for what this podcast will bring to the table, for the great conversations that we're gonna have, for the good energy that's gonna come in, for the content that we're gonna leave with, for the help we're gonna put out. And we're just gonna pray in the name of the Holy Spirit that this takes us far and we can reach a lot of listeners and we can change some lives, because when you change one, you can change multiple. And that's our deepest mission and our greatest values. The name for this podcast is gonna be the Triple Threat Podcast: Trauma, Trials, and Tribulations. Nah, that sounds good though. That was cute. It's gonna be Trauma, Triggers, and Transformed. I'll get into that in just a little bit. We're just going to be talking about people's testimonies and how they overcame them and how they can now make a difference. So the name basically rooted from the world in general. It's very common nowadays to go through trauma. If I know you went through trauma. It could be anything from you slept outside for 2 days to you were abused growing up, or you were in a single parent household. Everything is trauma in its own way. And we just have to dive deeper to understand our trauma and get the help that we need so that we can grow from it. That's basically the trauma portion of it. It's just people coming through telling their testimonies and how they went through trauma and how it made them different. As far as the triggers portion of it, everybody still continues to have triggers, no matter what help you get, no matter what therapist you see, no matter how much you pay for the therapist, no matter how many days you work at it and you push and you keep pushing and you continue to grow, you're always going to have a trigger. So we're basically getting into depth on how our triggers, how we go through our triggers in life, and how even though we're triggered, we keep persevering, we keep pushing forward, we keep helping others, because everybody's going to always have a trigger. It's always going to be something that triggers you. And if you feed into those triggers, how does it help you if you can't, get to the next stage in life? And transformed, it's in the name. I just want to know how we're being transformed and the differences we're making now because of the trauma. So basically the positive aspects. Even if you went through a negative season in life, which we all do, we're now looking at how are we able to do better for the next person, and how are we able to understand what somebody went through and make it greater, and how it transformed us into a better person, because it's ultimately about how we become better people in the end. So for this pod, I'm very excited. I'm very ecstatic because we're going to be having a lot of guests. We're going to be able to just dive in deeper into people's testimonies. And when we don't have guests, we can just dive in into ours and break them down and just figure out where we are in life and figure out where we're headed in life, and helping each other out is the biggest thing. We're mainly going to focus on people's well-being. I'm a very big advocate on making sure that everybody is growing in a good light, making sure that everybody is taking something from somebody else, because just because you're stuck in the place you're stuck in doesn't mean the next person is. It doesn't mean that they're necessarily over a place that you are in, though. So we can all share what we're going through with somebody else and it be just as significant. We'd never know what nobody is going through, anybody is going through. So to share that and to have an open heart and an open mind to what we can give to the community, what we can give to the world, is going to be amazing. It's going to be a time. It's going to be a show. This is the podcast for the people. excuse me, I'm ready to talk about it. I'm ready to dive into the mindset, and I'm ready to understand basically why we are who we are and why we think the way we think. So this is going to be exciting for me and everybody I know. Getting into who I am Ari the Aries, but my name is Ariana. I'm obviously an Aries, March 26th in the flesh. Very excited. Love that day. But that is me. I have a trauma of my own, and it definitely transformed me into wanting to make sure that people get the help that they need, becoming an advocate for positive energy. And I'm all for it. I'm all for doing better. Even though you've went through something, how can I make sure that I never let that happen again to anybody I know? And if it does, how can I help them navigate through it? Because life is not easy. It's always going to be hard. We're always going to have bumps in the roads. We're always going to have moments where it feels like the world is ending, the world is crashing. We don't understand what's going on. So that is me. What do I like to do? Just like to enjoy life. I like to travel. Wish I could travel the world. I wish I could be a travel. Wouldn't that be awesome? Word. um, I work in an urgent care setting, so that's fun. And that is pretty much my life. Work, travel, sleep, fun? Question mark. It depends on what you think is fun. I think sleep is fun. So depending on what that is. I have a baby dog, and I really love my baby dog. She had to get a segment. But this is going to be fun. I can't wait to dive in deeper and just understand everybody's mindset, understand what's going on, and understand how they've become the people they are, how they are sitting in the places they are sitting in now, and how they are becoming better human beings for the future, for people that's ahead of them, how they're becoming better for their kids or for their mom, dads, cousins, brothers. And we just really want to get into that. In general, we want to take that to help others in the path that they're going in. This is going to be a movie. It's going to be a movie because I'm very excited for the lives that are going to be healed and the lives that are going to be helped, because therapy is very wise. It's a very great thing that we need, but in order to just, it's not as easy as it sounds. I know it's like, I want to try therapy, but how do I do it? How do I get into it? How is it going to benefit me? How did it benefit you? It's a lot of questions to it, and some people just don't feel like there are pure intentions whenever going through therapy and whenever getting help. I'm a therapy advocate because I definitely believe that it is very helpful and it will change your life and it will rock your world. But if this pod can be therapeutic for some people who just need to listen, that is also what we're going for. We're going for just having an open mindset that nobody is perfect. And this is a platform of forgiveness. We're all going to mess up. We're all going to make mistakes. But this is why we want to put that out on the line now. And we just want to welcome everybody in with open arms, because I don't know what you're going through and I don't know what the next person is going through. But as long as I can help and as long as I can make a difference, I feel better about my life. I feel better about myself, and I feel better for other people, because it's just simple. I don't know what trauma you went through and I don't know how you got here. But what I do know is at the end of the road, there will be a savior who will take it all away, and you will feel 100% better. But this life on earth that we live is not supposed to be miserable. So before we get there, why don't we go ahead and work on what we're dealing with now, and we help the next party out. As far as me, Welcome in my trauma. I was sexually abused at the age of 10 to the age of 14. And it was by a very close family member, which is not okay. It doesn't matter who it is, though. It's not okay. And all I can say is it definitely has made me a better person. I'm not going to say I'm glad it happened because that's insane. But I am okay with the events of life now and able to talk about it because it helped me become who I am. It's helping me grow into this person that I am. It's helping me grow into this person that I hope to become in the future. And it's going to make me better. That is the only way that I can put it. I went through a season of depression. I went through a time of suicidal thoughts. I went through a time of drug abuse. I went through a time of addictive personality. I also went through a time of where I hurt people because I was hurting. And the biggest cry for help I needed was hurting people because I couldn't express who I was. So that's why I am where I am now today, because I'm a firm believer of if you get help, you help the next. So getting back into it, when I was 10, I didn't really understand what was going on, of course. It's a 10-year-old's mindset. We don't know what's going on. It also stunts your growth in a lot of different ways because you're not expecting life to be what that is at that age. And over the course of years, it continued to happen. I did not ask for help because I didn't know how. And that's normal. Because as a kid, you don't expect things like that to happen. And it's easy to trick a kid's mind into not understanding what's going on. It's just like, do you actually need help? Are you actually drowning? What's really going on? By the time I got out, there was a way that I could get help, but I instantly got scared and I decided that that wasn't the route I wanted to go because I was threatened in a way that really hurt me. And it kind of made the healing process 10 times longer. I wish that I did ask for help when I had the chance, but that's neither here nor there. I am now in a better place, in a better season, and I understand life just in a different type of light. As far as my season of depression, I went through a time of depression from a very young age. From the start of it, I'm pretty sure whenever hormones start hormoning is when I started going through depression. I'm gonna say maybe middle school, early middle school. I didn't really understand what I was feeling. I just understood that I felt different. I felt alone. I felt scared. I felt like all of my friends were against me. So to this day, I really struggle with relationships because of the relationships that I had in the past. I struggle with not understanding that people aren't all bad people. And I don't believe anybody's a bad person. I feel like we all have bad actions, but I feel like it starts at home. So it always starts with things that we can't see and things that we don't understand. Nobody's born bad. It's not a thing. We're all born saved, free, beautiful, happy souls. Definitely believe that. I think that it comes from, it starts at the very, very, very root of it, and it just goes up. So if your great, 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 great grandparents dealt with something traumatic and they didn't get the help that they needed, which a lot of them didn't because we didn't really look at therapy in our past lives. Now, because they didn't get help, it then transfers up to your greater grandparents, your grandparents, your mom, your dad, your aunties, uncles, your first generation siblings, second gen siblings, her third gen siblings, and then it just continues to cycle down. And then it's you, then it's your kids, then it's their kids, and then it's their kids, and it continues to go down until you get help. You have to break the cycle in order for the cycle to stop. So that is our main focus. We're breaking cycles so that we can raise our families up into a great place. And even if we've already started a negative cycle and haven't realized it, we want to go ahead and nip it in the bud now so that for future references, we can help our kids get the help they need, so we can just go ahead and not do that to them. So I was afraid of relationships, and that's kind of how I got here. Very depressed, very lonely, very sad. I started to cling on to people a lot. People were my help, people were my freedom, but I have to realize that I can't get the help that I need for myself through somebody else, because what negative does is make others negative. So you can't make a whole from two halves. And I only say that because if I'm half a person and you're half a person, you can't make me one whole person, because you can't change my personality and I can't change yours. So to add your personality onto me, and I'm giving you my other side of my personality, no matter how positive you are, if I'm very negative, I'm going to strip that positivity away from you. And it's going to take that other half of your positive half and make you two negative halves. So it really all starts with you getting help first, you becoming one whole human being in your form, then you meeting another whole human being so that y'all can add to each other, right? Because we want to make this the most positive relationship that it is, whether it's a friendship, whether it's a romantic relationship, whether it's a family relationship. It doesn't matter what it is. We want it to ultimately have a positive outcome and ultimately be helping each other out in the end. We don't want to have relationships where it's seemingly to be, oh, this is negative. Oh, this is pulling away from me. Oh, I feel really bad around this person. Or, oh, this is a very negative aspect. Like, I don't like this feeling. I don't understand this feeling. I don't know why I feel like this whenever I come around this person. That's just because anytime someone is negative, they're going to strip away from you unless you know what you're doing. And that's not your job. So to give somebody all of your positive energy all the time, all it does is take from you, me. It's constantly taken from me. It's constantly pulling away from me. It's constantly making me a weaker person. It's constantly making me feel less than. And it's because you're tired, so you can't save anybody else. So I would try to find help through other people, and I was trying to understand why I couldn't be happy like people I saw. And I ultimately started hurting people myself. I started pouring my negative energy into them, and they would become negative, and then I would get mad at them because they became negative. But that's my fault, because I came into your life and I poured all of that disaster and I poured all of that trauma and I poured all of those feelings into you, and you were trying to pour positive into me, but I had to want it. And if I didn't want the positivity, then I'm just going to continuously give you negativity, even if you're telling me good stuff, even if you're talking to me in a good light, even if you're giving me good energy, even if you're letting me know that this is not the way it has to be. So I started hurting those around me. And then I grabbed onto an addictive personality. I started to abuse pretty much anything I could get my hands on. So if it was over the counter medicine, I would just like take a lot of it just to feel numb And yeah, I went through a season of not really understanding what life was supposed to be, not really understanding the outcome of it, nor did I want to. It was ultimately like, I don't get this, but I don't want the help. So I went through a season and a time of drugs are my only friend, and that wasn't fun. So as I would get that addictive personality, I didn't know how to come out of it, and I didn't understand what was going on. But ultimately, that is all I knew at the time. I didn't think it was actually necessary to get help until maybe 2 years ago, because I personally felt like I could do it all on my own. So I started to give myself, I started to ultimately give myself like work in therapy. I would work 1,000 hours, and it would just block my mind off from all the pain that I had built up. And I'm gonna say that really started in 2020 during COVID. So I would work maybe 100 hours a week, and I would always be at my job. I worked at Whataburger at the time. It was 24 hours, so I would be at Whataburger 20 hours a day. I would be at home 4. I would sleep those 4, and we would just basically shower and go back to work, because that is what we were dealing with at the time. I felt like I don't want to sit in my thought process. I don't want to understand what's going on with me. So I'm going to go to work. I'm going to clock in. I'm going to talk to all of these people all day, and I'm never going to worry about me. That became really toxic very fast, because I was very tired all the time, and it never actually really helped me in the end. It never actually got me the help that I needed. So I don't win. So when I finally felt it was necessary to get help is when I would wake up and I couldn't feel, but I know I was going through it, and I know that I had feelings, and now I'm here, and I'm blessed. And I ultimately got therapy in the year of 2022. I found me a therapist, and I finally felt like it was time to sit down. Something came over me and told me it's time for you to get help, because you're not going to be able to continue to live like this. It's going to drown you. It's going to be the enemy. It's going to take away from all of that energy you thought you could have. You're never going to be okay. So I finally got me a therapist. I sat down with her for, I want to say 6 to 8 months, almost. It was possibly almost a year. And at the same time, I found my way back into church.